So in the month of February, we have helped our real estate investor clients lock up and close 8 deals from paid Facebook ads. So these are Facebook ads that we use to target motivated sellers who need to sell their houses fast for cash, and our clients are either wholesaling these deals or flipping them. We have some, individuals that do creative finance and things like that. But in this video, I'm going to walk you through all of the deals and the advertising metrics and just break down basically the numbers as well as what I'm thinking about next for each of these clients to take their ad accounts to the next level. So let's get into it. Now, keep in mind, this is 8 deals that have been closed inside of February 2024. And this is not all of my clients' results. Sometimes, clients won't message me when they close deals and I find out later. So this is just a handful of clients. I think it's a combination of 5 different clients. So I've got about, 15 other clients that, I haven't quite heard from back in terms of closing deals. So just based on my experience, there's probably quite a bit more here, but these were the ones I could capture and just show you guys with proof. So here is the first, closed deal, and this was a wholesale deal, and this is inside of this specific client's ad account. So each of the testimonials will have, me getting a message from them and seeing that they closed the deal, and then I'll have the actual ad account corresponding to that client attached below. So this was the first one here. You can see 16 leads, $140 per lead with an ad spend of $22.43. And this is one deal closed. And out of these 16 leads that were generated, there were 5 automated appointments. So I'll talk about the overall strategy that we're running. If you've seen my videos before, you're familiar with it. But basically, there have been 5 automated appointments out of the 16. So right around a 33% booking rate. And these 2 ad sets are 2 different markets. So this is one state that was recently added by the client because they're scaling into other markets. And then this is the original market that the client had selected. So this one is getting to the point where we're going to optimize this one and get the cost to go down. But it did produce the deal. So, this is a working ad set. So my process here for this client moving forward is to create another ad set for that market and see if we can beat the cost of the, original one. And then once it, outperforms it, then we can, remove this. But as of now, the client got a deal from this specific ad set. So it's a profitable, ad set. However, we want to obviously get that cost down if we can while maintaining the same quality. So this is the first deal. And then here is another one. And this client we just have one ad set for this client. And there's a combination of different markets. So this is why you'll see a much lower cost per lead here because this client has, more than 5 different states. And inside of each of those states, there are, quite a bit of cities and counties in each of those states. So it's not just like one state with one, city. It's multiple states and multiple cities and counties in each of those states. So this is why the cost is lower. So one deal was locked up out of 20 leads here, and 10 of those leads automatically booked appointments. So this is a 50% lead to booking ratio, and with only $1,200 of ad spend. So this is another client's results. And this one is in California. So this is a referral client, and we basically just got his ads running probably I think we're about a month in. So in the month of February, he was able to lock up one of the leads out of 16. So cost per leads in, Southern California or other competitive markets, your cost per lead is definitely going to be, up there. This is similar to, this client over here as well. Anytime you have a competitive market and you're going for a, survey lead, which I'll talk about in a second, your cost per lead is definitely going to, go up there. So our clients cool with this cost. And, Southern California, 110 is pretty decent. I think I can get it to 90. There's some things I'm going to do. So just so you guys can kind of understand my process here in terms of, what I would do next. Number one, like I said, if the ad set or the campaign is profitable, which it is in this case, you don't want to over engineer trying to change the campaign just based on one specific metric like the cost per lead. So for every 16 leads that the client is getting right now, he's, converting that into an actual deal. So his cost per deal in a market like Southern California is still really, really good. So this is for this specific type of business, which is, like I said, finding homeowners who need to sell their properties for cash. These are big ticket items. Our clients are going to make $20,000, $50,000 on these types of leads. So if you're used to, $5 leads or $10 leads, and you're kind of like, whoa, I'm paying $100 per lead. That's just the nature of these types of businesses as well as systems. Obviously, the lower we can get it while still maintaining quality, the better. However, this was a conversation I already had with the client up front that they were going to be spending more per lead because their market's competitive and they already knew that. So this is, technically within the projection that I had sent to this particular client. And, what's next is really just to see if we can optimize cost by testing new creatives. Sometimes it's as simple as literally relaunching the same exact ad set or campaign and just giving Facebook a different, time to start the campaign. So like you could start a campaign on Monday, and there's no specific reason I'm saying Monday. I'm just giving you the example. So you could launch a campaign on a Monday, and the first 4 or 5 days, the campaign doesn't perform that well. And you could launch that same exact ad set with nothing changed on a Thursday or a Friday or a Saturday, just any other day, and it starts performing right out the gate. So sometimes it's as simple as just literally duplicating the same proven ad set that's already getting leads and allowing Facebook to show it to a new segment of the audience. Because what Facebook does is you set your budget and then it'll send that advertisement out to a small group of people, like let's say 1,000 people initially. And based on the response that 1,000 people give to the ad, how many are clicking, watching the video, filling out the form, things like that, Facebook will then extrapolate that audience and start serving it to, more of the audience that is like, that original 1,000. So sometimes you run an ad set, like I said, the first 1,000 people don't engage with it, don't fill out the form for whatever the reason is. And it's not like the ads don't work or the system doesn't work. You just need to give it a new, segment of the audience to start to, steer it in the right direction. So this is still performing well. Like I said, it's a cost that my client's perfectly happy with paying for per lead, especially, like I said, since the deal sizes here in Southern California are much bigger than some of these other markets. And so since the cost per deal is still, relatively low in relation to what the client's going to make, this is a totally, well-performing ad set. And so I just want to see if we can optimize it by one, duplicating it and seeing if we can get a new segment that we show the ads to start giving it different variations. Because you could literally have, let's just say the population size of your audience when you are in Facebook, let's just say it says 1 million people, just to keep it simple. You can, literally run 2 ad sets with the exact same audience of 1 million people. And those 2 ad sets are going to show to different segments. And so one ad set may perform better just because it got a different segment initially. So since the cost here is good for what we're doing in Southern California, I'm going to basically duplicate this ad set, see if we can, like I said, just serve it to a different segment and start stabilizing the lead cost and getting it down, ideally to 90, around there. I mean, the lower the better, as long as quality stays constant. So that would be the first phase, and then additionally, changing the copy and things like that to start to, like I said, steer it in a different direction that, lowers that cost, but still gets the quality. So yeah, out of these 16, there were 11 automated booked appointments. So pretty much, 65% of the leads booked their own appointments. So that's also an indicator of, intent from the lead as well. So all of this looks really, really good. So that's this client. And then this is actually this is a client that I just did a video on, so you can check out my last video. This client spent $9,500 on ads and made $56,000 in assignment fees with all the money already collected, running his own ads. And so he decided to upgrade to have us do it for him. And so this is basically a brand new account that we're managing, and we have gotten him 4 leads out of $460 spent. Facebook is showing 1. The conversion API didn't send those leads for whatever reason, but there's basically been 4 leads, and actually 1 already signed a contract out of 1. So the first one we got signed a contract, and then the second lead I haven't gotten back, I haven't heard back from them if she ended up signing, but it could potentially be a second, deal under contract. But for now, to keep it conservative, it's one. So 1 out of 4, and 2 out of those 4 booked their own appointments. So this is just, like I said, brand new ad account that we're managing. Client had already had success from running the ads himself. You should definitely check out that video because it's really cool to see, he got like 385 leads, 15 deals under contract, and closed 6. So there's potentially others that are going to end up closing, but he was only spending about $24 per lead. So here, he's spending, about basically 5x what he was spending per lead, with the do-it-yourself software. So he's spending about $24, like I said, per lead. And then here he's spending about, $115 per lead, because like I said, this should be 4. But out of those 4, he's already got 1 under contract, which is pretty funny because I think, hold on. Yeah, so I just posted this video so you can go back and check this out. But it's funny because his cost per contract was $441 with the strategy that he ran for this case study, which, like I said, you'll want to watch this video to see the difference in the strategy. The strategy we use when we do the ads for clients is different than the ones that, the client uses when they run their own ads. But this is one of the things I had mentioned in this video. It's really funny to see how the numbers work because, yeah, over here he paid $24 per lead, and then over here he's paying about $115 per lead. But he got 1 deal under contract, which could be 2, but we'll just leave it at 1 for now. And his cost per contract is, virtually the exact same. It's about $20 off. So that's the power of different strategies. Is one of the things I mentioned in this video is it took the client basically 100 leads to get a deal and a half. But to keep it kind of simple, one deal out of 100. So when you have a different strategy where you go for higher quality, then this is what can potentially happen, which is it only is going to take, this will level out over time. It's not just going to be every 4 leads as a contract, but the point is what you can't see here, right? You could only get this from, talking to the client and really understanding, the process that they went through. You can't see how much time was spent trying to contact these leads, right? Because you're getting about, for every 100 leads, you get 1 deal. And what we've seen more and more, and you'll see throughout the rest of these results, is our top performing clients are able to, lock up a deal and close a deal within about 25 leads. So it basically takes 4 times the amount of leads with a higher volume strategy. And then your cost per lead is like 4 times less. So it's funny how they basically are the exact same thing, except the kind of untangible thing that you get from a higher quality strategy is you spend less time because there's just less leads. So I thought this was super interesting because, like I said, this is the exact client. This is the same exact thing, just 2 different strategies. And the cost ended up being, exactly the same. It's just the way that it manifests is different because you're used to paying $24 per lead. Then you're looking into your ad account and then you're seeing, whoa, we're spending $115 per lead, but it's taking you significantly less leads to close deals. So you're just saving a lot of time, and the time that you do spend is really on people that are more serious. So this is a cool comparison for both reasons. One, if you use our software and use a high volume strategy, you can still close deals very profitably. You are going to spend more time working the leads and trying to get in contact with them. And then when you have us do it for you, or you use a higher quality strategy, then you're going to pay, more per lead, but it's going to take you less leads to actually convert those into a deal. So like I said, I thought this was really cool because it's basically the exact same thing. But whereas in, the original strategy, this client would have basically gotten about 20 leads already, right? And they would have potentially got 1 deal under contract, but they would have, based on the numbers that we observed in this account, they were locking up about 6% of the leads. And when it all was said and done, only 1 of those actually converted and turned into a deal, specifically 1.5, but 1. So I thought that was interesting because same exact thing, just different strategy, raise the barrier of entry for the leads that are coming into the system. So you get higher quality up front and you just spend less time working the lead. So it'll depend where you're at in your business. If you have a lower budget, you are going to need a higher volume strategy like this, because with a strategy like this, your ad account is not going to perform at $10 a day or $20 a day, but it will perform just fine over here. And what I tell people is to spend 1x your cost per lead per day. So if your cost per lead is $24, then you want to spend $24 at the very minimum per day. So this client upgraded to have us do it, but they also increased their spend significantly. So, they're spending enough to, utilize this strategy. Now, keep in mind, the cost per lead will go down here as well. Like I said, it's about 115 right now. But based on the markets that this client has selected, we know that the cost is going to go down. So just like I said on the original one or the one before this, it's just a combination of the segment that it was shown to and just optimizing it. But we know we can get this cost per lead down. But even with it, the way that it is initially, it's still, yielded one deal under contract, potentially two. So that's that case study. And then this was basically 3 deals. This was one of the clients that I had mentioned in I think one of the previous videos, where we have clients that basically just pay for us to run their ads. And then we have another client that basically will work those deals for the client and just close the deal and then send that client a check. So this client got 3 deals for his account. And, this is being converted by one of our other actual clients. So you can see here, 28 leads, $50 per lead, with a total ad spend of $13.82, 2 deals under contract, and 13 appointments were automatically booked out of the 18. And in terms of the actual ad set here, these are basically just 2 different markets, and these 2 are being split tested based on placements. So for whatever reason, this placement is not, getting as much spend directed towards it. So in this case, I would probably leave this for, a few more days, see if it starts to distribute more spend here. If it doesn't, then, we would just turn off this ad set and just direct the spend here. But Facebook's smart, and it's going to, it's not going to direct spend here if people are not clicking and filling out the form. So I'll leave this for a few days, turn this off. If it's not getting any additional leads and the cost just goes up, and then we'll just direct the spend into these 2 ad sets. And then from there, I can still duplicate this, because these are the same exact market, just different placements. I can still test to see if this placement will perform with the same method I told you before, which is seeing if we can get it into a different segment, which, you usually, you can, because if your audience has even a few 100,000 people, you're not really going to max out your market. You can check out in your ads manager under delivery. There's a column called delivery, or a preset called delivery, and you can see frequency, which is basically how many times on average people are seeing the ad. So if your frequency is, basically anything below like 1.5, then, you're not maxing out your market. If you start getting into, 2, 3, 5x times people are seeing your ads, then you're potentially just showing the same ads to the same people, right? So for every one ad, that you're showing to one person, if your frequency is 5, they're seeing your ad 5 times, right? So you can measure that daily or over a month span. But basically, as long as that frequency is not, going above, 1.5 or so, then there's more and more new people that are going into the audience, which a lot of times people get worried about, am I going to show the ad to the same person? And you can just measure it by frequency. So if you can tell that your ad sets are not just showing it to the same people, unless you're retargeting, then there's no issue to just relaunch an already existing ad set, showing it to a new segment, and just making sure that it's not, making sure that it's cold traffic, and you'll be fine. So that's that client's results. And this was the 3rd deal from the same client example that I said. So this is another client campaign, but same situation where another one of our clients is working the leads. So this one, we got 1 deal closed out of 10 leads. Cost per lead is $167. So this is trending a little bit high. So we actually just refreshed it, added some different markets that the client was already willing to target. Initially, this ad set, if I showed you guys the maximum view, which is like from the history, like from the beginning of when the ad set was launched, this cost per lead is around $85. So this is just in the month specifically of February. So you'll see ebbs and flows of cost, and it will start to fluctuate. But the lifetime of this specific ad set has a cost per lead of around $80. So this is just what it looks like specifically in February, but deals are getting locked up. Multiple deals have been locked up from the ad set. So overall, the cost per deal is more than fine. This is just what it looked like in February. And like I said, initially this ad set was performing extremely well within one state and multiple markets in that state. We had a bunch of other states here, but this one was just performing extremely well. And so those really those were not active. And so now that cost has started to raise, even though over the lifetime, it's still a good cost for that specific market, we started to reincorporate these other markets to see if we can get it lower, which, we will. So yeah, so this is this one. And out of those 10, 5 were automatically 5 people out of the 10 automatically booked their appointments. So 50% lead to booking ratio. And like I said, if I look at the lifetime of this and show you guys that, I think there's about $7,000 of spend, and the cost per lead is right around $80. So this is just how it looks in February. And so because it started to slow down, we refreshed the other markets and we refreshed this one as well, so we can get cost consistently back to that 80, cost per lead, just obviously moving forward into March. So that is this one. And then this is, this is the last one. So this one is, this is a closed deal, $13,000 collected. And this is the metrics for February. And there were 16 leads generated, $105 per lead. This campaign started at around $90 per lead. So same logic that I have from before. We're going to reduplicate this proven ad set. We're going to leave this one, but duplicate this ad set. See if we can get, the ads serving to a new segment of the same market and get the cost back down to where it was when the original campaign was launched. But this is still a good cost per lead for this particular market. And like I said, this is also just a view of February. So the overall cost per result is about $95, if you look at it over the maximum. But you'll start to see this. You'll start to see the cost per lead trend upward for a few different reasons. One, if the creative needs to get refreshed. So if you're running the same type of ads or something like that, and the frequency is going up, which I just spoke about a few minutes ago, and you're showing the ads to the same people, you can basically just start to see the cost per lead go up. So all this needs is a simple refresh of a new segment and some new ad creatives, as well as ad copy, and then it should go right back to where it was when it started, around that $85-$90 per lead mark. So yeah, this is kind of the nature of how it works. Usually you'll see a campaign, if you're in like a specific market, you'll see the cost per lead initially, if you get it off to a good start, will be hypothetically 50, and then as the ad set continues to spend, if there's not enough variation, which is why like this client up here, this client, and this client, you'll see like a much lower cost. This is because there's a lot of variation because the population size is so large. So this is why I always suggest, if you can, the more markets you can add, the better, just from a purely marketing standpoint, like a Facebook ad, cost per lead standpoint. Obviously there's other dimensions to the business, which is not just the marketing, right? So you have to be able to move the deals, convert the deals, and make profit. But if all of those things were equal, the best way to get the lowest cost per lead is to add as big of a market as you possibly can for this type of system. If you have a brand, if you have SEO, and you've got awareness of people in your market in like one specific market, that's a little bit of a different story. But if you're plugging into the system like our clients do, where they're not having to create content, they don't have to make any videos, they don't have to really do anything except pay us for the service and pay for the ads, then the best way to get the lowest cost per lead is to add as many markets as you can. Because what will start to happen, like you'll see in this account and a few of the other ones I showed, is that cost per lead will start to just slowly kind of trend upward because there's not enough variation in that initial segment. And so when you show that ad to that initial segment, you start getting maybe a low cost per lead. And then as it just starts to look for more and more of those people, if there's not enough variation in that market, that's when you'll start to see the cost per lead trend upward. Because if you go nationwide, which I'll show you that real quick. So this is another video that I just did. You can go back on my channel and look at this one. This is a nationwide campaign, and you can see 95 leads in 30 days, $6 per lead, 2 contracts, basically an extremely low cost per lead. Same exact system, just bigger audience. And so this is what I mean when I'm saying that if you have, one main market that you're targeting, which is all the ones you see that have like $100 cost per lead or more, are really just focused on, 1 or 2 main markets within a state. And because of that, there's just more people bidding on a specific market. But if you have that $100 per day budget, and now you're letting Facebook distribute it to the entire United States, there's so much variation. There's so many people in the audience that you're able to produce really, really low cost, but you obviously have to be able to, like I said, from the business side, like move the actual deal. You can't just focus on cost per lead and all that. So that's why if you're new to the channel or new to ads and stuff, you can't be afraid of these higher cost per leads if your service that you provide is a higher ticket service, right? If we were selling a service that, was like $100, then yeah, we would just be losing money. But these are, like I said, $20,000, $50,000 checks that our clients get from these types of systems. And so, we're not afraid of that higher lead cost, but some people may not, they're used to $3, $4 leads. And you can create that. There's just, variables that go into it. So here, what's next for this account is, like I said, we want to duplicate this, refresh that segment. We're going to keep this one running and see if the refresh segment starts to, generate leads at that lower cost. And then eventually we can, remove this one if it's still performing at the same quality level to the client and the cost is lower. So really, there's not too much to do when you see the cost per lead start to trend. If you're sticking to a specific market, it's really just down to the core fundamentals, like refresh the segment, test different placements, change the ad copy, and change the creative. That's really all there is to do here. As long as you have a proven system, you don't really need to reinvent the entire system. You just need to, toggle the levers when it comes to the ads and just start showing it to, just more new people that are going to fill out the form. So even something like this could be a conversation that I have with the client and say, hey, what I just told you, we're going to refresh the ads and optimize it. I usually don't get into a bunch of details with the clients because they don't really care. But I could just in general say, hey, we're going to refresh the ads and to lower the cost. But if you have other markets that we can incorporate, that will also help. And so that may be where a client will say, yeah, I can also do this area or that area. And you add 2 different pins on the new ad set, and that adds another 400,000 people. And then your cost goes down. So those are kind of the things that we would do. Refresh the segment, test different placements, test the ad copy, headline, and creative. And in addition to that, if the client is sticking to that market, that's all we would do. But if they have other places they can expand into, then, we can tell them, hey, we think it'll make the ad set perform better. So that's really it. So 1 deal closed. Out of the 16, though, 13 automatically booked an appointment. So it's pretty high. I don't know what that is off the top of my head, maybe like 85% that booked, self-booked. So to recap, this is the month of February for these clients in particular. Like I said, I have about, I think this is either 5 or 6 clients, but I've got about quite a bit more that I don't even know. Usually they're just out there doing their thing, closing deals. So sometimes I don't hear from them until, a month later, and they've closed 2 or 3 deals. That's happened. I haven't heard from clients. I check in with them. Then they respond and they're like, oh yeah, we got 4 deals. So this is just with a segment, about 20% of our spend that we're managing. And so this spend is just the screenshots that I showed you. So $10,596 in ad spend. There were 110 leads generated with an overall cost of $96 per lead. There were 59 automated appointments, and that created a $179 cost per appointment. 8 deals, cost per contract, $1,324. And yeah, our estimated assignment fees from this is at minimum 107,000 to up to 140,000. So basically for 10K in ads, it's going to equal to about 100K in profits. So conversion rate is high, higher if you've seen other videos compared to, like overall what it will look like just for every client. Usually, like I said, it takes about 40 leads to get a deal. So right around that 2% conversion rate. So this is obviously, I've zoomed in on the deals, the clients that have gotten deals. So that's obviously influencing this, this conversion rate, but still really good. 7 leads out of 100 to get a closed deal. And that's just a walkthrough of all the numbers. So yeah, just a quick run through of the overall strategy. If you've seen my channel before, in these videos, you'll know it's really the same core strategy. So we're running Facebook video ads and image ads to a qualifying survey page. And then after they fill out the survey, the lead will be redirected to a calendar page where they can book in an appointment, which is where all of these came from. And then it just takes them to the lead to a simple thank you page. If they fill out the survey, book an appointment, they go to the thank you page. Then on the back, we have, basically 3 phases of SMS and email follow-up. So when the lead fills out the survey, they immediately go into phase 1 where we have texts and emails to follow up with them. And the way this part of the system works is if the lead responds to the automation will simply stop. If they do not respond, they will continue to get followed up with. So this just makes it so that the follow-up is automated. And when a lead actually does respond, the client can just jump in and take the conversation from there. So that's the strategy. And then here's what I'm thinking about next for these accounts and all of our accounts, which some of these I kind of spoke to already, but continuing to optimize the Facebook conversion API. So I've talked about this on other videos, but basically you can signal to Facebook when a lead was generated or when a lead was not generated. And so what we're experimenting with here is we're adding different qualifying questions to this survey. And based on those answers that the lead submits, let's just say one of the questions is like, when do you need to sell your property? And it says, immediately or 1 to 3 months or 6 months plus. We can then kind of manually, but automatically trigger a filter to Facebook where if someone says 6 months plus, that lead doesn't count inside of this, conversion API. And so then Facebook, doesn't think that it got a lead. It didn't accomplish its objective. So what's cool about that is our client still gets the lead. They'll still get the name, email, phone, address, the whole survey. But Facebook will think that it did not accomplish the objective, which is to get a lead. And so over time, I'm really starting to experiment with different layers of qualifying so that, we can leverage the algorithm to find that segment of people that need to sell immediately and have reasons for selling that we know are highest value and things like that. And like I said, I have other, the last few videos, I went into more detail on, how I'm actually doing that. But this is what I'm experimenting with right now. And then in addition to that, I'm adding in qualifying questions that really cut through the noise of a bunch of questions and create qualified leads. So for example, if, somebody needs to sell their property for cash, but, when they're actually on the phone with the client or something, they're wanting retail or they're not really in a rush to sell. There's questions that I've started to implement that really kind of like set all the expectations up front so that when they fill out that form, they really have to kind of think about, okay, like, do I actually want to get contacted by these people? And so we're starting to add in these types of questions that are really making people, like, you can ask one question that really cuts through a lot of the noise for a bunch of other questions. So I'm working on, crafting this in combination with this so that we can have one simple, identifier that really we use to signal the conversion API versus maybe a bunch of different ones stacked up. If we can create just one qualifying question that really holds the most weight. And then number one, it's going to cause people to probably drop off the form because based on how the question is written and the answers they can select, they may realize like they're not as serious as we would want them to be. And then two, if we start to see that question does influence quality, then that's what we can program with the API. So those are some things I'm doing with that. And then I'm also starting to redirect disqualified leads to a non-booking page, which will make bookings more valuable. So GoHighLevel just added in a feature where you can add conditional logic to your surveys and forms. And so you can basically redirect leads to just a message or just a separate part of the funnel, so that if they select, for example, let's just say that this highest value question is like when they need to sell by. This is just an example, but let's just say if their answer is immediately, that they need to sell immediately, if there are other options for them to select from, like 6 months plus or a year later, we can just simply redirect those leads to a separate, page where they're not able to book, right? And so what this will start to do is we start figuring out which question, holds the most weight and steering Facebook to find more of those people. And when we do that, once we figured out what those questions really are and do they actually make a difference, then if people aren't selecting that answer that we know is like, okay, this is going to be a good lead, then we can just redirect these leads to a non-booking page. So then the people that are filling that survey out basically don't have the ability to book. And so if these things, if you figure out what that actually is, then basically just by a process of elimination, the bookings will become more valuable because the only people that are booking are the people that are filling out the question the way that we know leads to the highest quality of lead. So this is something I'm experimenting with as well. And what I found for this type of a system, people sometimes get surprised by how many questions people are willing to fill out. And people, if you're not experienced with paid traffic, you may not quite understand the power of it. But if you're driving traffic to a page, and you have all the right components in place, I mean, people are going to fill out your forms. And so sometimes people don't really quite understand that. And so when you have the ability to consistently get traffic, what I found works best is instead of like disqualifying the leads where it doesn't allow them to submit their information, I found it works better to just redirect them, because if you submit your information and then it disqualifies them, people can, most people aren't going to know this, but they can refresh the page and then basically fill it out with a different answer so that they go to the booking page or whatever it is. But if you just redirect them somewhere, they're not really going to know that they're going somewhere else other than, they submitted their form. It didn't say, sorry, we're not a fit, because some people, that'll cause them to try and redo it. So when you just simply collect the lead, redirect them to a different part of the process, they're just going to think that that's natural. And then internally, we and our client can create different automations to, let's say if they, like I said, we collect their information on the form, and instead of, disqualifying it from going into the system, we'll still collect their information, but maybe they don't go into the actual pipeline, right? And then eventually the only people in like a pipeline would be the people that are actually filling out the question with the answer we know holds the most weight. And we're still collecting those other leads. They still get followed up with, all that stuff through the automation, but they don't have the ability to book. And so this is really, what I'm working on right now as well. And it really all comes down to that question that cuts through the noise and sees if somebody's, seriously considering selling. So that's what I'm doing with that. And then, this kind of, in essence, leads to reducing the number of leads to convert a deal. Like I've said, on average, it's going to take 40 leads to get a deal. However, as I've started to get more clients that are experienced and know what they're doing, you can see here, it's basically taking, our clients about, for every 100 leads, they're basically converting 7, right? So I'm already starting to increase the conversion rate and reduce the number of leads that it's going to take to convert a deal through the qualifying question. And so right now I'm working on measuring the qualifying question and then stacking it with these two things. But I've already started to add in different questions that seem to be working based on what I'm seeing so far. But only time's going to tell. And then, just creating new phases of images and videos that line up with everything I'm touching on here. Like what type of content and videos can we add in the ad that really speak to those people that seriously need to make a decision, not just anyone, right? So really adjusting the images and the videos to speak to somebody that's way more serious. And what I'm thinking is whatever this question, ends up being, incorporating that into the ad copy or the actual video itself is what I think is gonna, be the, that's my hypothesis, is as we start to see what that question is, and if the question that I've got right now is working well, then incorporating that into the copy, the image, and the video script so that it cuts through the noise in the actual creative as well. And then split testing advantage placements versus Facebook only. So up until now, we've seen that most of our successful deals come from people that opt in on Facebook, but we have seen lower cost with certain accounts with the Advantage Plus placements. So this is just coming down to tracking sources and where leads come from. But if people start to convert from Instagram, in general, from accounts that we have tested the Advantage Plus placements with, then that's just going to lower the overall cost per lead if we can start to serve ads on both platforms, since Facebook likes that more. But obviously, if this does not create better results for the clients, we're not just going to do it because Facebook wants us to do it. So yeah, split testing these and really measuring, like I said, if, hey, we're running one ad set with Facebook only and then one with Advantage Plus placements, we'll see which cost performs better. And then, once we get a bunch of deals locked up, we can trace back if, leads are coming from a combination of Instagram and Facebook, or it really just was Facebook. And then in that case, we'll just keep steering it on Facebook. But for all of our clients, we always have that Facebook only ad set as that's like the constant. And then we iterate off of that one as a test. So we don't go in just doing the Advantage, because over time, we've seen that the deals come from Facebook. So that's what we're doing here. And then I kind of touched on this from before, which is adjusting the copy on the video creatives to create higher intent, which really comes back to that question or way of phrasing it so that, we're speaking to people that are, more serious and intentional. So that's what I'm thinking about. These are some of our results. I'm sure there's quite a bit more coming, but yeah, just wanted to make this video, show you guys what I'm doing. If you are a real estate investor and you want us to do this for you, there's a link below and you can basically book a call with me. We'll go over your target markets, what you need to spend, what your projection will be, all that good stuff. And yeah, basically tell you about, how this works and how we can do it for you. And if we think we can help. And yeah, there's a link to that below. So I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Hope it found you well, and talk to you then. Peace. Bye.